Hey guys, it's Bailey and welcome back to my doll collecting channel. Today we are going to be restringing a doll. Does your doll do this? Let's fix her.
The tools you'll need will be listed in the description. You'll also need a bag, preferably with no color on the seam. And I also use odor bath, but you can wash the stuffing. You just have to wash it. You can hand wash it, whatever you want to do. But you have to air dry it in the dryer if you choose to wash it. I'll show you what I do with the odor bath, but right now I'm using a crochet hook to get into the knot because sometimes it's really tight. And I had to go back in because it was really tight. But it helps me take the head off because honestly it is a challenge sometimes, and here you see me struggling even so with the crochet hook. But it definitely comes in handy, and I'm just taking her head off here and setting it to the side. Now I just take out all of the stuffing and I put it into a basket. I've used a plastic Walmart bag before. You can use whatever you'd like, but I love having my basket. And then you'll have way more stuffing than you can probably imagine. And I spray it with odor bath if it's smelly, and then I rearrange it. You can also wash it if you'd like to, but I spray it again so that way it's covered. And then here I'm cutting the knot from the limb, and I just slide my scissors under the knot and make sure I'm not cutting any of the cloth body. Here's the body. I might be weird, but I think that the limbs have a very musical note, and I always do that anytime I restring, so maybe it's a sign that it's going to be a good restringing. However, I take the limb and I put it in the plastic bag again, and I am just trying to warm it up so that way I can pull the tension cup out of there. I have restrung without using a plastic bag, but I find that the hot water heats the tension cup up way too much, and the plastic bag actually makes it heat up less, but it still heats up, so just be careful when you try to take it out. My plastic bag also leaks sometimes, and I just didn't want it to do that. I had another one handy, so I switched it out. But you want it to be warm enough so that way you can pull out the tension cup, because nothing about this is easy. It looks really easy, I guess, but it is hard. So let's do it together. I'm taking the limb out of the bag and I'm making sure you want to be able to push on it. And so I'm sticking the pliers in, and you can see where I'm going to grab. It's the end of the cup. And so I'm just going to try to get it and make sure you guys can see what the heck I'm doing. And I'm wiggling it out. You don't have to pull super hard, but you do need to put some pressure on there. Carpal tunnel, people beware, because it definitely makes mine flare up. Okay, and I just wanted to make sure you guys can really see what I'm doing, making sure it's really malleable. And then I'm tugging on the cup part, and there's like an inner part, but it's the outer part that I'm holding on to. You can see that the tweezer or the pliers have actually melted the plastic a little bit, and that's really normal. But you have successfully gotten it out, so you should do a little dance because all of your tension cups are out, and that's how you celebrate, because it is a struggle. It is one of the hardest parts of doing this. So you're going to need 2 tension cups and a long cord, and you're going to put the cord through the tension cup, and I like to say to myself that it looks like a nipple. And so you're going to put the ferrule on there and clamp it down, so that way it does not move. And this part is not super specific. You don't have to hold it tight. You can just tighten it down, and then you're going to make a knot on top of it. You can do a full knot, or you can just do a once over like I am. I don't really find a difference, but whatever you would like to do, you can definitely do it. And I just make sure it's super tight on there. Okay, and then you're going to cut off the excess string because that on the inside of the limb doesn't necessarily matter, but on the inside of the cloth body, you're going to want to have as little string as possible, but still leave a little tail so that way it doesn't unravel or anything. But I'm heating the limb back up so that way I can attach the other cup. So here we go. We're going to shove it in there. I like to give it a little bit of room between the ferrule and the tension cup so that way it's just easier to push it in there. If you try to push it all in there, it might scratch the vinyl. And then I take a little pull and a tug to make sure that it is on there. If you saw at first it was not centered, and I just want to make sure it's centered so that way I'm making it tight as it possibly can be. And then I like to fold the cloth body down so that way I can see the other cup or the innards of the body, I guess, and I don't want to get any of the cloth body attached to it. So I push the tension cup onto the elastic and make the elastic come out the little hole. And then you're going to take the ferrule and put it on the string on the other side as well. You're going to put the flared base down towards the cup, and then you're going to pull it as tight as you can. Some people do have a tool. I do not. I just use my hands and make sure I can pull it as tight as I can. And then I take the tool and I just tighten and clamp down on the ferrule so that way it will not move. And after I tighten it all up, I like to get the corners. That's what I'm showing you. But after I tighten it all up, I do a knot again. And I like doing one piece of big string, even though I have to feed it through like this. But some people do prefer doing little strings. That's just not my style, but whatever you prefer to do, you can definitely do it. I'm testing the limb. And now I'm going to heat back up the other limb. I dropped the cup, that's what I was picking up. And I'm going to heat it back up so that way I can push the tension cup back inside. I just wanted to make sure you guys can really tell what I'm doing, so I just included extra clips of me doing the restringing process because I feel like one clip is just not enough because sometimes I'll do 3 limbs and then on the 4th one, I'm like, what am I even doing? So just take your time, go slow, think about what you're doing. It's a fun process. Once you know what you're doing, it can be very fast. I'm pretty fast at it if I don't think about it. But if it's your first time, think about what you're doing. Just really try to follow the steps. And I'm putting on the ferrule, making it as tight as I can right here. And then I'm holding it with one hand and clamping it down. As you can see, I do it different ways every time. I don't know why, but maybe it's the ADHD in me. But I'm clamping it down and then I'm going to make a knot on it. And I just do a once over and I push it down onto the ferrule as tight as I can get it. And then, yep. There it is. And then I just cut the excess off. And I don't like to leave too much. Here I am about to shove this back into the limb and I'm tightening it down, doing the knot. And I'm going to put it back in there. I just wanted to be redundant because sometimes things like this happen where the knot doesn't go down on there. So I do a double knot, just like a normal knot, I guess. But it's okay. Just take your time, breathe, figure out what you want to do. Everybody has a process for their restringing, and whatever works best for you, you will definitely figure it out while you're doing it. So here I am taking a little excess and pushing just the cup inside because with the ferrule, it is way too tight to shove everything in there, in my opinion. And it's really hard for me. It makes my carpal tunnel go crazy. But it makes me happy when I have a tightly strung doll. and I just feed through the elastic through the little hole on the cup that's sewn into the cloth body. And then I like to make sure I can really see that cup that's sewn in there. It's the skin colored one. And so I hold it down with one hand, take the tension cup, feed it through so that way it pops out the little end. And then I'm going to get a ferrule and tighten it down once more. This can be really scary for some people. If you have any questions, you can always email me or message me on Instagram. I would happily take apart one of my dolls, so that way I can help you guys. But just, message me, let me know if you have any additional questions. But here I am just tying the knot, and I do like to do the legs first. I will say that because doing the legs first is easier than doing the arms first and then the legs, because you have to fight through the cloth body. So just keep that in mind. But here we are. She is all strung up. Okay, as much as it makes my carpal tunnel flare up, this is actually my least favorite part, is stuffing. I hate doing the stuffing, and that's because you actually have to think about it and make sure it's good, and every doll is different for whatever reason. So I'm taking as much stuffing as I can, and I'm just shoving it into the body, and then I'm going to work it around the little strings, the little ties that we have from the elastic, and I'm going to take the stuffing and I'm going to make sure that that elastic tie is in the middle of the stuffing. Sometimes it will want to go towards the cloth body, but you want no connection between that part and the cloth body, because it'll just look weird, or you can feel it through the cloth body. And I don't know why the video is crazy right now, but it's okay. So I'm just shoving the stuffing in there like a Build-A-Bear, I guess. And we are building our American Girl doll. And I'm just making sure that it is all covering the tie. I don't want it to show or feel in any type of way. It can get awkward sometimes with the ties, so just take your time, really squeeze the doll, see if that's how you want it. It really is like a Build-A-Bear experience. But it's hard to get a lot of the stuffing in there, so I just take a huge handful of it, and with my fingers I just kind of push it down in there. And here you'll see that the elastic tie wanted to be close to the cloth body, and I'm just shoving stuffing around it so that way it does not go anywhere but the center. And I can't stress that enough, because this part is actually the hardest part. I have done a lot of restringing, but the stuffing part is the hardest for me, because you have to make sure that it looks the correct shape, or else you'll have like a robot girl, like you'll just have a box body, and that's fine. But I mean, nobody has perfectly straight shoulders or anything, and that's the main part, is you'll have like a flat butt or the really straight shoulders, and I'll show you in just a minute how straight the shoulders can look. And I got rid of some of the stuffing on my Grace doll, and I don't know why I did that. I was still kind of new to restringing, but as you can see, it's like really flat near the shoulders, and you're just going to want to avoid that. This stuffing was so much. I just wanted to include all of the footage, because I don't think you really get to see this on a lot of the restringing videos, and it was the part that I struggled with the most. So I hope this part helps you guys. let me know if you're going to use this tutorial to tighten any of your dolls, because I looked and looked and looked for good tutorials. I will have one linked in my description as well. Here's those flat shoulders. So we're going to give the shoulders a little bit more life, and we're almost done. So thank goodness. All right, so I take a lot of stuffing and I shove it into the shoulders. Like, I am not playing around. It is going to go in there. And I make sure that the tie from the elastic is in the middle and not getting pushed or shoved anywhere. And just be careful also, because I found out sometimes that when I am too rough with the doll, I can actually like mess up my hard work with the restringing. So just be careful and make sure you're shoving it all in the right places, I guess. So we're almost done, and we're gonna do the next shoulder. But as you can see, it is more like up and not so flat. And that's like my favorite part of restringing now, is to just make sure that the stuffing on the shoulders is really perfect, because my Grace does not look good in clothes. It actually affects them. It's kind of weird. But we're almost to the finish line. I'm almost going to put her head back on. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself 24/7, but this is a very repetitive process, and I'm pretty good at repetitive processes, honestly. It took me about 20 minutes to restring most dolls. This one I filmed and stuff, and so it took me like 35 minutes, but just don't even worry about the time. Enjoy fixing your doll up. It is a process. It is not easy, and though I may have made it look easy, hopefully you can tell my struggles, but all of the stuffing is in there, and we are going to tie the head on. Okay, and I actually struggled with tying the head on for a long time, but recently I read on American Girl's FAQ, and they actually have a method of tying the doll head on there, and I used the method that I read from their FAQ. Alright, I'm almost done, as I keep saying. However, the shoulders are just a tedious part that I love to make sure is correct. There I am. And so we're going to slide her head in from the front, and then we're going to place her face down. I put her on the washcloth, but you can do whatever. We're going to place her face down, and we're going to take the ties, and we're going to do a once over, not a knot, just a once over, and make it as tight as you can. And I just made sure that there was no gaps in the front. And then you're going to finish off with the knot, and you will have a perfectly restrung doll. Thank you guys for sticking around.
All right, we are all done. This is a doll that I bought off of Facebook Marketplace for pretty cheap, and I'm going to have her be my test doll. And since she's my test doll, I gave her a T name. Her name's going to be Terrence, but I don't know what I'll do with her besides test random stuff on her, but I'm very excited. But yes, here we are, and I'll link a tutorial where I learned how to do it, so that way if you have any other questions, it does go into it, but I had to really look for the tutorials. So anyways, I'll link it below, and thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.